The meeting of the Marquette City Commission is called to order on Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, may I have roll call?
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Mayer.
Here.
Commissioner Ottaway.
Here.
Commissioner Schlegel.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hanley.
Here.
And Mayor Davis.
Here. Commissioners, we have an agenda in front of us, and I'm looking for a motion for approval. Commissioner Smith,
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
and you were pretty quick. Commissioner Schlegel,
I'd second the motion.
any comments?
None.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. I have no announcements this evening, so we will move on to boards and committees, and we have a couple appointments. Commissioners, may I have a motion? Pro Tem Hanley.
I tried to give someone else a chance. I move that we appoint Travis Gerhardt to the Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee for an unexpired term ending 6/1 of 27, and Athena Stanley to the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee for an unexpired term ending 6/1 of 26.
And a second? Commissioner Schlegel, Commissioner Ottaway.
Second.
Any comments?
I'd just like to thank everyone for helping out again. Having people on our boards and committees is always great.
I just echo her sentiment. Perfect.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Which brings us to the public comments. Comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address when making a public comment and step up to the podium.
Good evening, Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. First time I'm speaking tonight, it's in my role as an instructor at Northern Michigan University. My students from MG 221 Legal Environment and Business have been invited to attend this meeting tonight. In order to get credit for the meeting, they have to speak at public comment, so I ask your patience with them. Also, they get extra credit if they come up with a question, so hopefully they will have questions. But this is an opportunity, as I spoke to them. They have all worked in the classroom on budgets and money when it was all paper. This is, as I explained, real money. And tonight is the City Commission, and tomorrow at 2 is the Board of Light and Power meeting where we're doing a working session on budgets. So no pressure on the commission, but this is your first chance to impress these young people. I've already, had my chance with them, but you get another chance to impress them. And also, please be patient. I hope they have good questions. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Yes, my name is Steve Reed, and good evening to everyone. I'm from the Brookstone Condominium Association and the Harlow Farms Development. I'm here this evening to share a prepared statement from Dick Constance, the president of Brookstone Condominium Association, who is not available to be here this evening. His statement is, we wanted to update the commission with our concerns about the development of the multiple use pathway that has previously been discussed on Wilson Street between McClellan and US 41. Just in case not all commissioners are aware of this stems from an agreement from the developer, Harlow Farms Development Corporation, what he had made with the city in 2006. HFDC agreed to deed the completed Wilson Street segment that it developed at its expense to the city of Marquette for their agreement to maintain it and develop a multiple use pathway with lighting for its residents. The project had somehow fallen off the city's master plan and has never been initiated. We have been told that after recent recognition of that error, the city has put it back on the master plan as a priority project. We have received no information about the city's plans to proceed with the project and would like to share continued concerns for safety and the use of the corridor by local residents. The developer has continued due diligence to finish their commitment, and currently there are 180 residences in the completed project. There are 55 residents also in Mill Creek Senior Care Facility, and another 24 residents along the corridor in Hawks Ridge and Osprey Courts. Total residents of 204 in the area. The developer has done their jobs for providing finished results to the project, which has afforded the city of Marquette millions of dollars in property tax revenues through the period. We're beseeching the city to take action on their commitment to this project. We'd be encouraged to see a cost plan for the project, to know that this is being taken seriously by the city. And enacting this plan by the city would ensure primary safety for area residents who regularly use the corridor for walking, biking, and everyday shopping. Many school children daily ride bikes through the corridor on their way to Superior Hills, Bothwell, or other city schools. And this corridor does connect to the Iron Ore Heritage Trail, which again ends up with many kids coming down the trail and connecting
Mr.
them
Reed,
to
I'm
Wilson
sorry,
Street.
your time is up.
Can I leave the,
You can finish it at
document?
our second public comment period, you could?
what's that?
Your time is up for this public comment, but we will have a second comment period at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, good evening. My name is Andrew Karsten, 900 Norwood Street. I'm an accounting student at Northern Michigan, and I'm here to see the real-life budgeting process rather than just on paper in school. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Yes, hello. My name is Maribel Zamora, 1309 North Glasscock. I am an NMU student, and I'm attending to observe the budgeting process from MGT 221. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is Piper Morrison. I'm a student at NMU in accounting. I'm here for my class of Management 221, and I was wondering how the budget was both categorized and administered. Thank you.
I'm sorry, categorized and,
Administered.
okay.
Hi, my name is Morgan Blasey. I'm also a student at Northern Michigan University. I study accounting, and I do want to see how the budget process is administered as well, besides like paper. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Don't sit down, come on in. And we need your name and your address.
Okay, so my name is Justin Love. I live on campus at Northern Michigan University. And I'm here for two reasons. I'm here for extra credit for a class, and I'm here to like learn more about this. So, is there anything else you need to ask me?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. For those of you that commented, I just want to let you know that we cannot respond to your questions right now, but we will at the end of the meeting. So you get to stay all that time before to get your questions answered. Anyone else for public comment? With that, I will close public comment and move on into the agenda. And our next, we're going to have a presentation from the Planning Commission by the Chair, Sarah Middlefelt. And here comes Sarah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to come to give the presentation, annual report of what we've been up to on the Planning Commission. Kind of some of this will be familiar to those of you who've actually served on the Planning Commission, but also for the new people in the room, this will be good information to understand different units of government and how we work together. So the Planning Commission, we are primarily tasked by statute to develop and help make recommendations to City Commission on the Community Master Plan. So that's taken up a lot of our time. I'll talk a little bit later about how we've worked to address a lot of the public comments that we received during the public comment period over summer. Amendments to the Land Development Code, which you guys saw from us not too long ago. Thank you again for approving all of that. And then we're also responsible for making recommendations on zoning issues related to be considered by the legislative body. So related to any planned unit development or rezoning, we deal with all of that fun nitty-gritty in the weeds type stuff around land use. We also are responsible for administrative review of large projects. So smaller projects tend to just get reviewed by city staff, Dave and Dennis and Andrea. But on larger projects, we sort of serve as the vehicle for public input on large development projects. Approval of special land use permits. We haven't seen too many of those recently, but that is a big part of what we do. Ensuring that any special land use is in compliance with both the Land Development Code as well as the Community Master Plan. And again, just being a panel of volunteer citizens who can provide some input on large development and the review process for that. We also assist in street reconstruction projects and other building improvements, and again, ensuring that all of this new development is in compliance with the Community Master Plan, and that there's also a space not just for us, the Planning Commission, but we also have public forums where citizens can come and provide input on any kind of large developments that are happening. And we also make recommendations on the capital improvement plan. So lots to do. You know, when I started, I think 6 or 7 years ago, people said, wow, the Planning Commission does a lot of heavy lifting compared to some of the other committees. And over the years, we've learned that that is definitely true. As some of you who've served on the Planning Commission know. But now you're well positioned to do this work because they are very much kind of in conversation with each other. I promised Dave I wouldn't dive too much into the history of planning, but I geeked out on this over the summer, and I actually read the first zoning ordinance of the city of Marquette. It was like 2 or 3 pages long, and it was very short, and you know, our most recent land development code is now like approaching 400 pages long. So I don't know, it's getting more comprehensive, it's getting more into the weeds, but really before 1950, there was no like planning and zoning around where different types of land use can be. So in 1925, people were very much concerned about separating residential areas from industrial uses to keep the public health and safety of those communities intact. And now the whole field of planning and zoning has really blossomed. It does a lot around multimodal transport, trying to improve like different ways of transportation around the town, and improving housing density, and trying to do what we can as a government, as a city government, to try to provide more opportunities for housing development at all levels, but affordable housing in particular. So we've come a long way, but that's kind of the nutshell of what it's looked like in Marquette. We have in my mind, a fantastic commission right now because we've got folks in their 20s. A recent NMU grad, Dimitri Kaltsas, is one of our recent members who's got really awesome, fresh ideas, came to the first meeting with like Jane Addams' book about planning and zoning with like page numbers. You know, he's all excited to get into it. And then on up to like folks like Wayne Primo, who's 80 years old. He's been doing this stuff for a long time. So we are really fortunate that we have at least age-wise, a very diverse group, and adds a lot of different perspectives on the things that we're seeing. So what have we been up to? Well, this is the kind of the numbers of what we've done. 12 site plan reviews, only 8 special land use permit requests, which is, I think, less than other years that I've been involved in the Planning Commission. 3 zoning requests, 1 PUD for a preliminary plan, an amendment on a planned unit development, termination, and then a major overhaul of the Land Development Code, a set of amendments, which you saw maybe a few months ago. So that's what we've been up to in the last year. The Community Master Plan, so we are pretty close to completing that process. Many of you I know have been very instrumental in that and attending a lot of the public forums that the consultants have organized. So that's pretty much almost wrapped up. Now that those Land Development Code amendments have been approved by you all, we're working to see how those play out, especially around things around housing density with duplexes and triplexes in different zoning districts. We're kind of curious to see how that goes down. So we're kind of waiting to see what that looks like. Transit, that's something that we are often very interested in, and we have the city-wide bike route plan that we're hoping to get some funding for at some point to help implement the plan that was developed. Street reconstruction, sidewalk maintenance and repair. This was Dave made sure that we wanted to have that call staff to verify at the last bullet point. The zoning permits are required for most structures, new construction. Tell your friends, like, yes, you do need a permit for most everything you do. And I know that there's a staff who are responsible for enforcing that. Would really just love if people knew, like, yeah, you probably need a permit for pretty much any structure that's larger than, like, 10 square feet, basically. Okay, so we had the final round of input to the community master plan. I think it was like from May to end of July, there was like the open comment period on the community master plan where people could write in. They saw the draft, could write in comments. And I was really happy with how we spent considerable meeting time going through all of the comments that were received, categorizing them, trying to figure out how can we address these in a meaningful way within the document. And then we came up with our own set of documents that we passed along to the consultants, who will then go ahead and add in all that public comment into the final draft, which we hope to be able to hold on October 1st. We're still waiting for a final revision of the community master plan with that last round of revision, but that, I'm told, is kind of in the mail, so you will all obviously be looking at that soon too. So yeah, in terms of thinking about what are some of the goals the Planning Commission has for the future, this is something we talked about in a recent meeting, like, okay, what are our priorities? What do we want to recommend to you all to consider? That bike route plan, that's been in the works for, I think it's almost as long as I've been on the Planning Commission, at least 5 years, I think, of a bike plan, and you guys have probably seen the map. But I mean, if you'll notice, some of the cycling infrastructure is not where it probably should be, even just marking bike lanes on 3rd Street, that kind of thing. We really want to see that emphasized and a priority moving forward. The second bullet point there, winter walkability is improving due to climate change. So I guess there's a positive thing that we can talk about associated with climate change. I don't know about you all, but like not having to shovel as much last summer was kind of a nice thing, I guess. But certainly like figuring out how to deal with mobility, walkability in the winter in a climate like ours is always going to be a challenge. And then again, this is kind of the perpetual issue that some of you who've worked on the Planning Commission know that this is a conversation we've had for many years, trying to have better collaboration, better communication with the MarkTran board, and trying to figure out how to have a very reliable, predictable intra-city transit route that students and residents and older folks can like count on and know that we have established routes and we have infrastructure to support public transit. So just again, trying to do what we can to support MarkTran so that we can bring more multimodal transportation options to our community. Another thing that we talked about as a Planning Commission is like, we want to hang out with y'all. You guys, having time with the Planning Commission and the City Commission, we think oftentimes it's like when rubber hits the road, we have to pass, I'm presenting to you about the land development code and something has to get done. There's kind of like immediate, like we're working on some kind of issue or problem. It'd be really great if we had opportunities for discussion between the Planning Commission and the City Commission in, maybe in the fall prior to one of the LDC work sessions that I think we're legally required to have, having opportunities for enhanced communication between the City Commission and the Planning Commission is something commissioners on the Planning Commission would like to see. This is the last thing, just to wrap it up. The Vault Marquette project, just to put it on your radars, that is likely to begin this fall. Some construction happening, so if you have questions about that, I will direct you probably to Dave. Dennis probably knows a lot about that one too. But that is going to be a major project. It's going to change the face of that downtown area pretty considerably. So people might be asking, and just know that that is something that's in the works, that's been planned and approved, and will be happening here this fall. So I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions for me or comments?
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Larson.
Not so much a question, but just thank you for serving. Having served myself on the Planning Commission for nearly 6 years, I know
There you are, Michael, right in that
breadth,
picture.
the breadth of work that you undertake. You certainly make it easy for the commission when you have the living documents of the land development code and the master plan and the continually updating that you go through for that. So not only the commission with its width of age and experience, but also city staff helps really move those things along. So thank you so much for serving, and I'm glad to see you in the chair position.
Oh, thanks, Michael.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Schlegel?
Another planning commission person can't not speak
I know,
up and
you probably
say,
miss it, right?
you can't speak up and say thank you for what the planning commission does. You nailed it with a couple of statements there. I really feel with taking the public health and safety into consideration when we plan for the future, and it really is. I mean, it's that to the core, So that is just something that I really have ingrained in myself when I see the process happening. And for the students that are here, this is where you go to see how the sausage is made when you go to the Planning Commission, because they're bound by the rules that are set forth by the state of Michigan. You can get personal about it. You can have good feelings and bad feelings towards projects, but you have to go, if they're satisfying what the state puts forth, you have to go with it. And then it comes up to us, and the recommendation is brought to us, and then we can get personal with it and say, you know what, I don't like this, or we want to change here, or we want to see something different. But these guys are bound by these rules that are set forth for them, and it really keeps that creative train chugging, because it's what they have to do. You're darn right about the permits. I had a 14 or 15 by 4 foot patch of flowers that I took out. I called Miss Dig. 2 days later, Andrea from the city calls me and says, hey, you got to pull a permit. I said, I'm putting gravel down. Pull a permit. Are you going to put anything on top of that? I said, maybe a couple pavers for a picnic table. You got to pull a permit. 6 years I spent on this committee. I wouldn't have thought I had to do that, but I got pinched. I probably paid my permit, and I said, to heck with it. I'm going to make a nicer patio. So I did. But it's all there for a reason. And again, it's there to make sure that things are done in accordance with how the city wants to see things done. I'd be happy to sponsor a grill out between the Planning Commission and the City Commission at my house, if you want to.
Wow, that's even better. I was thinking one of these sterile rooms, but I'll go to cook out at your place. That sounds
let's
great.
get to know each other a little bit more, just because it gets pretty stagnant in a formal setting. But anyway, not in the winter, of course. Yeah, just thanks for everything. Bring it back to the Planning Commission and let them know how much we appreciate them making our job that much easier by going through that. And staff, Dennis, I'm going to say it 1,000 times, but you've got some of the best people working for you that have taught me and on so many others so many great things about why we do what we do and why we've been so successful in maintaining our shoreline and doing all of these other things that have been planned. So just kudos to everybody involved. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, you had your hand up.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Sarah. I appreciate everything you do, the Planning Commission and city staff that I know works hard to tee everything up. We certainly haven't made it easy. We've had a lot of development in the city of Marquette in the last several years. So you're always having to review new and innovative projects and changing LDC, and everything you all have done has made it easier for us to consider what we want Marquette to look like in the future. So appreciate all your work. Thanks.
Thanks.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Ottaway.
Sarah, I'll echo all the thank yous from all of these guys. You guys are doing a wonderful job on the Planning Commission. Just from our seat, it is very comforting to get all of the information from you, and really all the hard work is done oftentimes. You guys do your due diligence, and it shows. I think the City Commission is very lucky to have a Planning Commission that's engaged as you all are. So continue doing whatever it is that you guys are doing to keep people engaged. I don't know if that means recruiting for the future or doing whatever that takes, but I think a lot of communities would absolutely die for a Planning Commission like ours. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Any other commissioners? Okay, Sarah, thank you so much. You said that the Planning Commission does the heavy lifting, and that's so true. I've been to more than a couple Planning Commission meetings this year, and I'm always impressed with the knowledge that the committee has to have and how much they have to study and the detail that they go into and how hard they work to make sure that they're listening to the public. I'm really excited about our master plan finally coming to an end. And, also thank you for all the work that has been done on the land development code.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
We're moving on to our public hearing. This is what many of you are here for, our Budget and General Appropriations Act fiscal year 2025. And this will be a roll call vote. City Clerk, you have some background for us.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Commission held a budget conference on August 22nd, 2024. Tonight, a public hearing has been scheduled to receive public comment on the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget. Following this input, the Commission should consider any changes it wishes to make to the budget. Fiscal effect: an adopted budget is required to expend government funds. A balanced budget has been presented. Recommendation: adopt the fiscal year 2025 Budget and General Appropriations Act. Alternatives: as determined by the Commission.
Thank you. Before I open it up for public comment or for the public hearings, City Manager, was there something that you wanted to present this evening?
I do have a presentation prepared if you would like that.
Yes,
before you
we
open.
would.
Fabulous. Thank you. All right. So many of you have heard this budget spiel over the course of the past 3 years and our journey to get to a point where we are presenting a balanced budget for fiscal year 25. So the City Commission held a special meeting on August 22nd as their all-day budget workshop, and we were in this room here kind of diving into all of the budgets that we are presenting, and really it was the City Commission's time to talk amongst themselves, hear about the budget, kind of ask the questions that perhaps maybe are more into the details or weeds that aren't as fun maybe to discuss right now or here, and also trying to clarify some questions that they had before they are preparing to make a decision tonight as well. So a public hearing is required by statute, and it must be conducted prior to the adoption of the proposed budget. And really tonight's presentation is more of a high-level look at the budget for the public. There's quite a few details, and of course I could talk all day about that, but I don't think they want to hear me talk about it again. But if there are questions after this, we can certainly talk about that. But also, I do look at budgets similar to how we look at technology too, is sometimes it's out of date than the very next moment or prior to even adopting it. So a budget, while we are proposing a budget for adoption tonight, as we look on a day-to-day basis, there are opportunities for amending that budget with the City Commission as necessary. And again, we try to hold that and reserve that for extreme things or those special instances. So while we have a budget to follow, there are opportunities to amend that for the better, or if goodness, if there's a disaster, we would have to amend it the other way as well. So don't try to squint too much here. This detail is available in the in all of our public hearings and our documents as well. But just looking at the budget citywide, all funds, we have just over 30 funds, so probably I think 32 funds in total that the City Commission is in charge of. And I summarize them by the type here. We mainly focus on the general fund, the street funds, and those utility funds, but we'll get into those a little bit here shortly. But that's a pretty hefty price tag there. That's over $96 million that we manage here at the city, and that we you have to make some decisions on and make some tough decisions sometimes. So general fund is just over 24 million. The special revenue funds, which there are about, I think, 13 of them, and we'll get into those. Those are a significant amount as well. Those are our street funds and some of those other things that are very specific. We have debt service funds, a capital project fund. Those enterprise funds are the ones that we talk about utility rates, and we will get to that very shortly. And then internal service funds, which are more for serving those departments inside the city, like technology funds and whatnot. And then component unit funds, those are those brownfields, those TIF funds that we talk about, and things like that, where there's some real parameters around how we decide on those budgets, and really don't have much room on that, but we'll also get into that here shortly as well. Looking at the general fund revenues, this is really kind of what we give a lot of attention to. And our general fund revenues, again, balancing a budget of close to 24.4 million. And we focus on that unrestricted amount of 20,900,000 and some change. And this is really those general revenues that we can use for everyday operations within the general fund. That being said, the largest revenue source for the city and for most municipalities are property taxes. And that one is a tough one to really kind of talk about too, because we all know that is what we as residents and care about and feel the pain with lately. So we are limited to what we can increase taxes by. We are at our cap for our millage, and that has not increased. What we are hearing and what we are feeling is that increase in the property tax value. So while we have, again, that inflation rate multiplier maxed out at 5% for the second year in a row and the second year in history, we also have some of that Headley rollback too, which kind of takes our millage down a little bit and doesn't make it as impactful, but it still does increase as we have that inflation increase. And just for context, our overall revenues, not including grants, because those are very specific and one time, we have had an increase in revenue this year compared to last year at 3%. But our expenditures, obviously, when we talk about cost escalations and increases, we all know all of our costs have increased more than that as well. So just keep that in mind as we head into to expenditures later. State shared revenue is also one of our larger revenue sources that increased just slightly. And then our payment in lieu of taxes, which are those entities that pay something in lieu of taxes. Interesting how they name that. But this tends to be those housing developments that don't pay taxes, that are exempt and pay something similar, but is often quite less than that. The bigger chunk of the payment in lieu of taxes has to do with the BLP and their percentage of revenue agreement that they have paid instead of taxing, because they are considered an enterprise. And then also the wastewater treatment fund and water plant that pays into it, because those are also business type entities within the city, and they do pay for some of those services, even though they're our own. Fees and grants are considered restricted. So those are fees that are generated to cover a service for that cost. So we don't often have a lot of flexibility with that to utilize that. So when you talk about, hey, here's our revenue source, why don't we increase permit fees? Legally, we can't do that unless we are covering the cost for those services. So those tend to be restricted and quite limited. Moving into expenditures, we're showing this as classified expenditures here, just in the different types of expenditures we do have. I want to focus just on the fact that we have some obligations that we have to make. We have to pay these, and those are things like debt service, those pension contributions, some of those contract costs that we have, or contract escalations in our wages and salaries, and some of those fringes as well. And so those tend to be our larger amounts there. And so there's not a lot of wiggle room there when we're talking about providing a service and having these contractual obligations. Supplies and services is where there are a few options there for flexibility, but again, those are tied to services. And then capital outlay here is quite minimal as well. So just for context, in case you want to look at that bottom line, total expenditures equal total revenues. Something we have not been able to say without using fund balance and since I've been here. So really proud on that one. What we might want to see, what might make it a little bit clearer here on what we're spending general fund dollars on, this is how it's listed as by department. And this also is included in our public notice and in our documents as well, so please don't try to squint too much. But this does list out our different departments and what their costs are. In these departments, there are, again, those contractual obligations in there. So while some departments have some higher dollar figures in there, they may also have a higher pension contribution. Police department. It was a joke when we were looking here. Police seems to stand out there in that word bubble. So those tend to have some of those higher obligations for any number of reasons as well. But in these departments, when we compared year to year, there were not significant fluctuations. Anything that was a significant fluctuation, even over 5%, had to do more with those one-off projects I think even, some of these have one project in here that was already prepared to go through or we're obligated to complete. And in previous years, we had some things like the community master plan and some other projects that needed to be done. So the fluctuations were really not surprising and are very much remaining efficient. Nothing too exciting in the change from year to year. Now, looking into the long-term outlook, this is where we like to focus and look long-term out here, and we are noticing a positive trend. And what I don't want anybody to squint too much. The point of this really is, when we look, previous years, this was quite grim. And this is assuming that we have modest revenue increases with property taxes, modest other increases, and nothing significant happens. No emergencies, no surprises. And we all know that that's not necessarily what happens in real life. So this is just kind of a little projection out there. It's nothing we're going to hold ourselves to at this point, but it does give us a little bit of hope here. I do want to say, once we start moving into putting money into fund balance, where we watch our fund balance policy, and if we end up with a fund balance that is too high, that's where we really do look at and prioritize some of those projects that we need to do or want to do, or we look at how this impacts our millage rate and if there are opportunity to substitute some revenue sources there and try to scale back some of that. Do we need to be levying as much as we are at that point? So that is considered every year when we look at revenues and expenditures. And because of our fund balance policy, we are obligated to take that into consideration as well. Now, focusing on to debt, this is just a graphic for the debt service timeline on when things get paid off. What I do want to focus on here is pretty impressive, I would say. In fiscal year 25, we will be paying down over $6 million of debt principal. We're making progress. And while debt service can be seen sometimes as something that we don't want to talk about, there are strategies for issuing debt in order to complete projects. Those projects that have a longer lifespan that will be benefiting people for years, you're talking about the 15, 20 years, you then can be paying debt on that and debt service on that. It makes sense to spread that out. When we look at the debt that's outstanding as of fiscal year 24 and entering into fiscal year 25, our total debt issuance that's outstanding, not including our recent JCI project, which is a little bit larger, is just over $38 million. And then adding in that tax exempt lease program or the JCI project, that's another $24.5 million. We have $62.9 million of debt outstanding. While that sounds scary, let's talk about the original amount that was issued with that JCI project as well. It's almost $93.8 million. Again, that sounds like a big number, but the amount of things that have been accomplished since that the oldest issuance of debt, which goes back to 2007 at this time, and then going on from 2013 to 2022, we accomplished a lot. We redid so many streets and other projects, and infrastructure was a huge one. That infrastructure and keeping up on that maintenance and those improvements is why we haven't seen some of that massive, major catastrophe when we've had these storms recently and things like that. We also have the piers that we're looking at as well, and then some of our other improvements, and we do have a list of those. So it's something to be proud of, but we're also taking this opportunity to pause on issuing any more debt and accomplishing some of those other projects that perhaps can wait or be done some other way. I'm just going to fly through a couple more slides here. Special revenue funds, we've covered these. There's 13 of those funds. They're there for a specific purpose, and they're restricted by certain reasons. And again, these are all highlighted into our budget documents. Enterprise funds, we have 7 of those. Those operate more as those business type entities. We will be getting into utility funds really quickly here, but I just wanted to note that we do have 7 of those, including our marinas are classified as that as well. Internal service funds, those serve us as internal customers. Those are our motor pool, municipal service center, energy enhancements grant project, and the tech fund. and our component units, which are our library, DDA, and our Brownfield Authority. And those have multiple funds as well. And then diving into the next big topic is just the utility rate changes. So the proposed utility rate changes follow the approved utility rate study that we had redone in 2022. Those considered various things like projected revenue, operating expenditures, capital expenditures that we are looking at, and some of those other financial objectives or obligations, such as bond covenants. That approved rate study projected a rate adjustment for water, sewer, and stormwater, and had taken all of those considerations and smoothed it over a 10-year period, instead of seeing spikes and dips in rate adjustments because of a project one year or not. It also projected out those costs to allow for continued maintenance and improvements, again, focusing on that infrastructure component. So what does that mean? I know this isn't the prettiest table, but I do like to put it out there in order for everyone to kind of see it. And I assure you we will clean this up here for future uses. But looking at fiscal year 25, we have two components to our water rate, and that is the usage and the fixed rate. And we are projecting a small increase in both of those components. Same thing with sewer. We have a fixed rate per month, and we also have a usage rate as well, and there is a small increase on that. And then your stormwater is based off of your lot size at this point, and there is a small increase on that. So what does that mean? What we're looking at is a total increase of $7.85 or $7.85. This is comparing it to a previous study that was done that was approved by the City Commission, but we had held off on some of those increases due to various reasons, including COVID. So just comparison of the work that has been done and adjustments that have been done on these studies because there were some circumstances that we couldn't get through. So the average increase per household would be about $7.85 per month, and that would be less than $100 per year. Again, I'm not saying that it's anything to just blink our eye at, but this is one of our last years for a little bit more of an increase, as you can see, which is why I like to show the next few years as well. We had to catch up in order to meet some of those obligations and those objectives and plan for some other improvements that were needed. So this year's, again, $7.85 spread across the water, sewer, stormwater increase, and it could vary based off of your usage as well. And we are happy to help anybody try to calculate out what that change is. And then just touching on capital outlay, you saw capital improvements were slim, and that is because we're doing something called Simp Light, and that is really just focusing on maintenance and some of that crack sealing and preserving the conditions of these streets in order for us to build up some reserves and some of that cash balance in order to pay cash instead of perhaps bonding or waiting for some of future projects that we are planning on doing based off of grants. We do have some sidewalk improvements that we've been identified needing, and those are covering things like identified trip hazards, some ADA compliance things, and the big project that we've been talking about are really addressing those failing underground coal bunkers within the DDA district, and that is a joint project between the DDA and the city. Again, the goal is to really try to build up those capital reserves for future infrastructure. That is something that municipalities have been trying to do. It's difficult. We don't have adequate road funding in order to get those things done, but it's something that is going to help us while we try to pay down more debt each year and free up some of those funds. Just for context, we have about 115 to 120, maybe even closer to 130 projects that we have on our capital improvement list. Those are ranked. We do have a policy for identifying these projects, ranking these projects, and looking for funding on this. Just the top 11 ranking projects, those priority projects, those totaled $7.8 million. And those funding sources came from various funds like streets and some of our utility funds, which makes it a little easier to accomplish. But again, it would have impacted our general fund significantly in order to cover that because our street funds do not receive enough funding. The total Of those other lower priority projects were, and I say lower, they aren't, doesn't mean that they're not important. It just means scored lower based off of the priorities. Those equated to about $53 to $54 million in order to accomplish them all. And that's in today dollars. So when we think about how they just continue to grow. We are keeping an eye on things that need to be done. We understand that there's roads out there that are a little bit bumpy, ones that we like to avoid. But we are paying attention to those, and we are paying attention to the infrastructure underneath, and we'll address anything that needs to be addressed, but we have to postpone some of those that perhaps can wait. And again, one of our favorites is this one. While our expenditures equate to almost $25 million, what we are getting with that is some significant quality services here. We focus on things like sustainability. We have an accredited police department. We have top-notch services that we provide, and they're all things that we are incredibly proud of. And so when we talk about really looking at making significant changes in our expenditures, it's really hard to pick what we would like to do without, because all of these are what make our community incredibly vibrant and wonderful to live in. That's all.
Thank you, City
Sorry.
Manager. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time, and I think it answered some of the questions about categorizing the budget. But with that, I am going to open the public hearing. So the public hearing is now open. Anyone who would like to speak regarding the city budget, please step up to the podium. Again, you have 3 minutes.
Margaret Brum, speaking 404 East Magnetic Street, speaking on behalf of myself and not Northern or the Board of Light and Power. I reviewed the proposed budget, and I congratulate the city manager, who was handed a mess 3 years ago when she came in and was told she had a year and a half to get things in order, and it turned out she had a month and a half. I was at that first budget meeting when she had to tell the truth to a whole bunch of people who would rather not hear it. And I'm delighted to hear that the truth keeps coming out. I have a suggestion for the city, and I'm way outside my comfort zone here. So if I start to dither, it's because I'm not entirely sure how to say this. But one of the things I continue to notice is, instead of noticing the beautiful new piers, I notice that the lights don't work underneath the viewing window, which was one of the things that we had discussed earlier this year. Instead of being able to enjoy a walk at the island, I noticed that the stairs, which were the last thing my mother was able to climb down to get out on the breakwater before she became too feeble to do that, are still not safe. And so, unfortunately, I have a critical eye towards the city, which I'd rather not have. I'd rather see the beauty. One of the things that's been brought to my attention recently is how important it is that we have public art that is considered a meaningful part of the city and its growth, and that other communities and other entities look at us. My suggestion is this: there is no reason why you cannot combine the public art money with the maintenance money. There's no reason why a new staircase at the breakwater couldn't be beautiful as well as functional. I noticed the new sculptures over the weekend seem to have found some of the most beautiful rock in the entire Upper Peninsula. There's no reason why the new steps couldn't be made by a sculptor out of rock as opposed to out of wood, and some of that come out of the public art budget. I appreciate that public art is not my forte. I'm way outside my comfort league, but there's no reason why a staircase can't be made more beautiful than it is. And there's also no reason why the lights underneath the pier also could not be paid for to work by public art, because we just saw at the unveiling of the sculptures Friday night a beautiful light show that went along with them. There's no reason why the public art budget couldn't be extended to put lights underneath that pier as part of the two-phase process of functionality as well as art. And I would encourage you, as the City Commission, to work with the Public Art Commission to focus their efforts on making Marquette more beautiful, as well as assisting in making it be more functional. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Geraldine Nault, 1851 North McClellan. I want to say thank you to the commission and the staff that worked on the budget to bring us a balanced budget. It's like a real hand clapping affair. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Barb Aldzai, 1324 North Front. You know, I'm just going to take off on that comment that Margaret made about the public art, because I am representing myself, not any particular committee. But at one of the committee meetings I was at, we were talking about, crosswalk safety and, visual cues for drivers on the road. And someone brought in an example of, where they actually paint the road. And wouldn't it be cool if we had a public art project where, there was some sort of artistic painting that narrowed, gave you the visual image of the road being narrower, or that there was a bike crossing area. So I think, that whole exploration thing, I know everybody's thought of it already, but I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak at the public hearing? Anyone else? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, I am looking for a motion. Commissioner Larson.
I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2025 budget and General Appropriations Act.
And a second? Commissioner Schlegel.
I second the motion.
Discussion?
I'd just like to say that I'm pleased that we have a balanced budget. I think it strikes a solid balance between maintaining essential services and looking towards the future. Budgeting isn't everybody's favorite time of year, but it might be the city manager's favorite time of year. But difficult decisions sometimes need to be made, and I'm very pleased that we have this balanced budget moving forward, and I support it.
Thank you.
I love the budget process. Boy, let me tell you, I could go for hours and hours. No, I echo the statement there from the commissioner. I just think that to have a balanced budget after the last couple of years of really having to grind our teeth on everything from, millage or rate increases to questioning whether or not we're going to have to impact our services that we're offering our community, to say that we're not going to have to ask for anything more in that respect or have to eliminate anything has been a testament to what the staff did for this process. So I just really, I'm excited to see that the future is headed in the right direction. So thank you for all your work.
Okay. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you to our city manager, to our department heads, to our finance department for a budget without using fund balance. And I just have to say, as I'm rounding out my time on the city commission, I'm really proud to leave this kind of financial stability for the next years to come, or at least for this year to come. So thank you for helping kind of make sure we've got some stability moving forward.
Commissioner Ottaway.
Yeah, huge thank you to our city manager and all of her staff. This is phenomenal. I think, honestly, a lot of it's being undersold at how awesome it is. I think that a lot of the commission that is sitting here has seen a lot of the rougher times, especially if I look to the left of me, and, well, to the right of me too. But I think a lot of hard work has been done, and I think, honestly, a lot of good things have been done by commissioners that have come before me. They've really let the staff go to work. The staff really changed the outlook for the future of the city of Marquette, and that does not go unrecognized. So thank you to Karen, and thank you to your staff, and thank you to everyone that has been involved in getting this budget going in the right direction, and I look forward to some big things in the future. Thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Mayor.
Thank you. I personally love our budget seasons, but I don't think if I was in the shoes of one of our department heads or anyone in our finance department, I'd feel the same way. It's a lot funner when you're over here, but going back to, I started November of 2020. When we first discovered it was a budget crisis, frankly. The amount of work And the amount of congratulations to our city manager, to our CFO Mary, to our department heads, to our staff just across the board for a lot of tough decisions and, really thinking through a long-term vision to fix this. I'll be honest, I didn't think I was going to see it even remotely close being fixed while I was still on the commission. So as far as where I anticipated us being, this is really awesome. And hopefully we can keep going on that trajectory, but we'll see about next year. But truly, congratulations and thank you for all the hard work.
Pro Tem Hanley.
There's not a lot left that I can say. Obviously, thank you to Karen and Mary for answering the 1,000 questions you probably got from everyone on the commission. I know I called both of you a couple times and it was explained to me in a way. I know that my first conversation with Mary after the budget was given to us made me feel a lot better because she was so optimistic about the fact that we were looking at a balanced budget. And it was very nice and very unexpected to be sitting in that spot after what I thought was going to be a at least 5-6 year chance to get us to that point. I really can't thank the staff and each department for cutting and doing everything they can to make sure that we are here while keeping all the services in the city the same. We are still having all of our events. We have a great police and fire department. We are very lucky that we're able to do it that way. And that's only because of the staff and you guys and all the work that you have done. So I really do thank you for that.
I think everyone has spoken, and there was a lot said. There's not a whole lot I can add to that. I'll just maybe say a few things in a different way. The number of years I've been on the commission, which is about 5, this is the first time we have not taken, we're not projected to take money out of our fund balance. And that says a lot. And a couple of years ago, people have said it was pretty depressing about the financial situation we were in, and there was a lot of finding efficiencies and cutting costs, and it was really difficult on the staff, on the department heads, and on the administration. And then the work that we're doing to pay down our debt so that we can in the future have enough money to do capital improvement projects. I would love to do some big capital improvement projects, but we just really can't at this point in time. But it's really setting the stage for a really strong financial future, and I really believe that we have done that. So again, thank you to everyone. That's just echoing what everybody else says. And with that, I'm going to ask the city clerk to do the roll call vote.
Commissioner Larson.
Yes.
Commissioner Mayer.
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway.
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hanley.
Yes.
And Mayor Davis.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Is that a question?
Nope.
Okay.
I just said crushed it.
Okay. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, I am looking for a motion. Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
And Pro Tem Hand, oh, well, I saw your hand. Go ahead. You'll get the next one.
I second.
And comments? Anyone? Okay, all in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Which brings us to the new business, our audit contract for fiscal years 2024 through 2026. City Clerk, background, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The contract for the city's required annual audit is due for renewal, with Anderson, Tackman and Company PLC being the only local CPA firm able to conduct the city's audit, and because this is a professional service that does not require a formal request for proposal, city staff have negotiated terms for a 3-year contract. The city's chief financial officer and the senior staff accountant have concluded the negotiated costs to be appropriate and in line with previous years. Fiscal effect: the contract amounts of $62,850 for fiscal year 2024, $66,685 for 2025, and $70,700 for 2026 will be included in the respective budgets. Recommendation: approve a 3-year contract for annual audit services with Anderson, Tackman and Company PLC in the amounts of $62,850 for fiscal year 2024, $66,685 for 2025, and $70,700 for fiscal year 2026, and authorize the chief financial officer to sign the contract. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'm looking for a motion. Pro Tem Hanley.
I move that we approve a 3-year contract for annual audit services with Anderson Tackman and Company PLC in the amounts of $62,850 for fiscal year 2024, $66,685 for fiscal year 2025, and $70,700 for fiscal year 26, and authorize the Chief Financial Officer to sign the contract.
And I'm looking for a second. Commissioner Ottaway.
Second.
Comment?
All budget tonight, no.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Oppose? Motion carries 7-0. Which brings us to our second public comment section. So if you would like to make a public comment, please step forward to the podium, and you have 3 minutes per person. Again, you do not have to state your address, but state your name, please.
Yes, again, my name is Steve Reed. Just finishing up our president, Dick Constance's statement. Enacting the plan for a pathway through Wilson Street. That would ensure primary safety for area residents who regularly use this corridor for walking, biking, and everyday shopping. Daily, many school children do ride bikes in the mornings and afternoons to Bothwell, Superior Hills, and other schools. And if you are through the area residents can be seen with their walkers or powered wheelchairs trying to navigate the pathway. Again, some of this is really concerning given all the construction that's occurring in the area and the fact that Best Western Plus Hotel will soon be opening to add to the traffic through that area. People are walking the streets right now, and it's safer now than it will be when we get into winter. So again, that's the statement that was prepared, and I was asked to read it tonight to the commission. So as an association of Brookstone, we really appreciate the fact that you're here and we're able to make a statement expressing some of those concerns. So thank you much, and I'd be happy to leave this if anyone if it's appropriate or I need it.
City Clerk.
Whatever. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Margaret Brum, Jeopardy has a category called potpourri, which is a bunch of random questions thrown together. So this is a bunch of random comments thrown together. Number one, we're coming up on elections. Everybody will be focused on the election of their choice. I reached out to the League of Women Voters to ask when the public forum was going to be held for the local school board, as we have 8 candidates for 3 open positions. I was told that they were trying to schedule it, and that's fine, but that so far they hadn't received a confirmation from the 8 candidates that they'd be willing to attend. And I'm here to encourage everyone to encourage all 8 of those candidates to sign up for the League of Women Voters Public Forum. Those of us who have run for office in this town know how critically important it is for voters to have factual information and to see the candidates all lined up next to each other answering the same questions at the same time. Therefore, just to encourage people, I am withholding any endorsement of any candidate unless or until they commit to participate in the public forum. Of course, they have a right not to be there, but we have a right and an obligation to encourage our candidates to attend forums like this when they're offered. That's number one. Number two is that I recently participated in a primary election where I did not win. In the next days after that, as you're running around picking up your signs, people always pat you on the back, say, sorry about that, sorry about that. And my standard question is, did you vote? And the number of people who gave me reasons to vote made me not to vote, made me sick to my stomach. We now have, thanks to our dedicated city clerk, early voting at Peter White Public Library. We also have a permanent master plan where you can always get an absentee ballot sent to you. We now have people who will help you with a Secretary of State vehicle which will come to your workplace to sign people up to vote. In other words, there used to be excuses why people couldn't vote. There simply aren't anymore. But as Barack Obama said the other day, he has no more patience with people who refuse to become registered voters. I'm echoing that as well. So please register to vote and exercise your vote. And one last word to my students. I'm very proud of the students that showed up. This is not an easy room to come into. I myself did not task it until my 5th decade upon this planet, so they're getting here a little younger. Also, to get the credit for tonight, you owe me an email with 3 paragraphs describing what you learned, what you were surprised at, and what you took away. It'd be really nice to get that email before midnight tonight so I could grade it tonight. No pressure whatsoever. But again, I'm very, very happy that they showed up. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment and move on to comments from the commission. And Commissioner Smith, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Friday night, we had the unveiling of the 7 grandfathers stone sculpture, the public art down by the lakeshore. We had many tribal leaders there. Arts and Culture did a fantastic job. City departments did a fantastic job. For folks who haven't had a chance to check it out, it's down at the new Piers area, kind of by the One Marquette place. Highly recommend you get down there, and I just wanted to express appreciation for a really well done event. A turnout that I didn't quite expect. There was quite a few people there, and something to be really proud of in our city. Thank you.
Commissioner Larson.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Commissioner Smith's take on the unveiling on Friday, and thank you to putting that on. And there was also a bus ride prior to that Commissioner Mayer and I both attended that took us down the cultural trail, as Arts and Culture, sees their vision in the future. So giving us a little preview of that. So it was really wonderful to see that and the turnout that was there on Friday night. So I'm very, very happy with the community for pushing that forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Mayer.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really grateful that I was able to be in town on Friday for both the unveiling, the bus tour with tribal council leaders from 3 different sovereign nations, and to be able to also make it down to the park for to play on the drum for a few hours. It was really awesome, just everything that was going on Friday. Quick, I guess, or follow up for the city manager if she's able to, mainly because I would have been 9 years old when the city committed to this Brookstone condos pathway, but if you could follow up on that question, I would appreciate it. And last thing was just Jerry, if you could really give a shout out to our city staff on a balanced budget, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Ottaway. I've never heard a request for the media. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll echo Commissioner Mayer's request to Jerry over there. I will say just real quick with the 7 grandfather sculptures, it was extremely touching, amazing to be there. I was so happy that I got to just witness it and really see how that brought so many people together. Well done by everyone involved. I really enjoyed watching Commissioner Mayer beat the drum himself. That was pretty fun to see, and really everything was amazing. I'll reclaim the rest of my time for another point, but I would also like to hear the city manager speak on Mr. Reed's comments if possible. Thank you.
Okay. Pro Tem Hanley.
Thank you. I want to start by saying thank you to all of the students who came today. Andrew, Maribel, Piper, Morgan, and Justin, you did a great job. I know that this may not have been the most interesting way you could have spent your evening, but the easiest thing to recognize is the decisions that we made tonight are going to have an impact for years to come on the city. They are going to impact all the way down. If you choose to live here as residents, they will impact you in a way. And so I always encourage that you keep coming involved. I love when Margaret has her classes come here because it's honestly at a local level is the easiest way to make the biggest impact. And I fully would suggest getting on one of our local boards and committees, seeing what kind of impact you can make, because while you're here, this is your home. But thank you for coming.
Commissioner Schlegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Like everybody else, the Seven Grandfathers ceremony was a core memory that I will have for the rest of my life, and I'm looking forward to sharing that site with my daughter, who was unfortunately out of town this past weekend and was not able to attend that, but I'm looking forward to going down there with her and going over what it means, and as part of our cultural trail, what it means for the city of Marquette, past, present, and future. The students, it's great to see you. Being accounting majors, you're already a step above me, but at the same time, I had a great time at Northern too. So don't forget to have a little fun. I would encourage you to find some time to go to an open hours time with our city manager and pick her brain a little bit, because she is a great resource as to potentially an area of civic duty that you guys might not have in your wheelhouse yet. And I would encourage you to go in and have a conversation about why she enjoys what she does and why she does such a good job at it. So Karen, if you don't mind me sending people your way for a good conversation about numbers, then enjoy it. So really take advantage of those resources. If I would have known half of what I know now, I would have taken a completely different path, but I'm and only because of stuff that I got involved in at the city level. So really don't forget about looking outside of this box that you have right now and saying, what else is connected to this that might point in a direction to maybe go a little further than you thought. So thanks for showing up tonight. That's all I have. Thank you.
I too will thank the students for coming. And if you really want to get into the budget in more detail, it is on our website, and you can get all the detail and all the categorizing that you want. I have to tell you that all my years on the commission, the budget has been difficult, and we've struggled, and we have really tightened our reins. And in the future, probably after you folks graduate, it's going to be looking really good. So we really are stabilizing our financial future for the city, and I'm envious of the commissioners that will come after me, because they will have a much easier time. The Seven Grandfather Teachings was a really fun and exciting experience last Friday, and I just love that the sculptures are there at our waterfront. So we have these 7 teachings, and we have it at a place where the land meets the water, and it's a nice place to just kind of sit and contemplate. So congratulations to our Public Arts Commission and to our Arts and Culture staff for making that happen. I love the idea of combining art and maintenance. I've always been a little envious of some of those cities that instead of crosswalks, they have dance walks. So when it says walk, it says dance, and then there's like music steps along this. So I think that is a really good idea that we could consider in the future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you. I have not heard that idea, Sally, or Mayor Davis, sorry.
Or Sally.
I would probably like to see a Mayor Davis dancing around, but I have heard that there's video out there from little Rachel, I think it was, or Rachel's daughter, so. I am completely lost on this one. No, let me start off here with just showing some appreciation from our students here that came to speak, and let you know that I started off as an accounting student as well, and moved into finance and then city management. So, there's vast options, especially even in business and whatnot too. So good luck to you, and I'm happy to discuss more on any budget or career pathways if you ever wanted to talk. So going back to the main question that the commissioners had brought up regarding the Harlow Farms PUD and the multi-use path. So there's been many conversations about this, and we certainly appreciate the associations for staying in touch with us throughout the many years here. What we are looking at in the information that has been communicated back to some people in the association is the fact that the The developer originally had sought relief from any sidewalks or hard surface pathways due to the nature of the development, which really is a beautiful area and has a lot of natural features. And so there really is not necessarily a commitment from the city to put in a pathway or to put in sidewalks. Rather, it is if we chose to do so as the city, then we are responsible for maintenance and things like that. So there might be some confusion, and then there were some changes that were made from the original agreement or original proposed PUD to when the Planning Commission approved it, and I think even further than when the City Commission approved it too. So I don't have necessarily those documents handy, but I do just have those notes here, just noting the fact that all of this resulted in the city agreeing to assume responsibility should we decide to do so. Now, with that being said, we had explored several different grants and grant opportunities for this pathway because we do understand that this area really is interested in having this. Some of those grants did not meet that need. We looked at, I think there was a neighborhood connectivity grant, some bike path grant funding, and I think the preliminary estimate for the cost, if we did not have grant funding, would be over $400,000 at this point. So when we talk about all those capital improvements and those lists that we do have in prioritization, that falls closer to the 121 or in the hundreds on the list when we look at all of the priorities and using funding and general fund funding specifically for this. So unfortunately, that's not the greatest answer, but I can provide some more detail to the commission once I have some more information. But unfortunately, that's where that lies at this point. That's all. Thank you.
And with that, I will close this meeting at 7:16 p.m. That's our longest meeting for a while.